Witchy and Weird Podcast.
Hello, Witchy and Weird. Today we're talking about aliens. I'm so excited. And before we get into it, definitely I'm trying to be better about this, but shout out to Emily and Emma, our patron coven members. And if you are wanting to become a patron coven member, have been thinking about it, if you want to find more ways to support this podcast, if you really vibe with us, it would be greatly appreciated. I definitely want to make this into a long-term full-time gig, and being paid for my time and energy would be lovely and amazing. We have 3 different tiers. And honestly, like in the patron coven, there's more opportunities for community, and that's really what I want to build in this space, right? So there's 3 different tiers. The first tier is only $6 a month, and you get access to 2 additional episodes every month. So the February additional episodes, you may or may not have seen them. If you follow us on our Instagram or TikTok, I've posted about them. But the 2 February ones were about, now I'm forgetting, tradition over, like how tradition overshadows intuition. So I talk about like this dichotomy that I got a download for, that when we're trying to honor traditions, we're often pushed to stop listening to our intuition. And so I go more in depth on how to navigate that, and what stuff came up for me intuitively. The second episode for February was what the villain era really means. I got this really cool download. I was like, why is everybody obsessed with the villain era? And it really is just like a reframing of perspective for being selfish in our healing journey, because villains are very much so like selfish, and the term selfish, it has a negative connotation. Like people who are selfish are considered like bad people. So it's a way that we're reframing that to like be okay with being selfish, because in healing you have to be selfish. So I talk about my views on that. I talk more in depth on how we can actually like think about our favorite villain from pop culture and what they represent to us, and how we can use them to help us in our healing journey to reveal our hidden desires. And if you're in the second and third tiers, you would get an additional like journaling workbook every month. And so for February, I did a journaling workbook that coincides with that villain era episode. So it, like, I walk you through like literally analyzing like your favorite villain and what they mean to you and what they can represent to you, and boiling it down to finding out what your hidden desires are. And if you are in the top tier, it was one-on-one coaching with me once a month in like a Zoom style coaching, and we work with aliens and other beings, and we can speak to them for support and for advice. Each month it is different. And you also get discounts on merch. So that's another thing. I put a poll recently on Instagram about merch, and people were really interested in stickers. So I'm going to start with stickers and sticker sheets. And I'm just excited to make like more, it's going to be more like fun witch designs, and not really as many like, I don't know. I find a lot of like podcast merch is sometimes like boring because it's just like the logo. So definitely working to make it more of like a lifestyle brand. So have some really cool ideas. I found a place that does like bralettes and things. So yeah. Anyways, so if you also are like, you know what, I would love to be a patron, but I cannot throw down those coins right now, leave us a review, please. Any on Spotify, you can leave just like a 5-star review. Like there's no like words, you don't need to type in or anything. And if you are an Apple user, you have Apple products, you can go to Apple Podcasts, the app, and leave us a review. And that one you can put like, you know, a description of how much you like it or how much you love it. That helps to reach more people, to build our community, and to maybe find other people who would love to be part of the Patreon coven. So, okay, my dog is like knocking things over. So that's pretty much it. And so, what are we going to talk about with aliens? So, I have chatted a lot about working with other magical beings and working with aliens. And a lot of people are like, yo, what? Like, I wish I could do that. Like, it's not something that's as common as, say, like working with deities. So, I wanted to create a podcast episode about my experience with working with aliens, how I do it, how I view it, how you can start working with aliens if you want to, and like theories in the spiritual community that are surrounding aliens and things, because I'm like passionate about that stuff. So just as like a background also, I asked the aliens that I work with to be here. So I wanted it to kind of be like they're kind of like a guest in a way. And even as I was writing it, they were giving me a lot, like the notes, they were giving me a lot of stuff to say. So if I stop and I'm listening to something, it's because I'm listening to the aliens, that want to say something to you all. Okay. So background up for me is like I'm not super big into like deity work. um, I was originally introduced to spirituality and my mentor worked with aliens. So I started more from that side. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to work with aliens right out the gate. I was like, that's cool that my mentor does that. And her name is Ambrosia Matthews. And I don't know what it is, but I find that it's like the energy of working with aliens is more practical and like down to like the facts. And I feel like with aliens, at least for me and how I've experienced working with them, is like there's this unspoken bond that we have, this understanding, as opposed to like deity work where it's like you have to a lot of people teach it that you have to like build a very devoted relationship with them. You have to like get them to notice you, to trust you, to want to work with you, do a lot of acts in service for them. And I know not everybody does that, but that's kind of how I've seen it. And that's kind of how it feels for me is like with the deity work, I feel like it's very much so connecting to our humanness and they're just divining information for us. A lot of people work with them as a way that like they would work with like a higher self or spirit guides. Um, a lot of them a lot of people work with deities. Okay, seriously? Sorry, my dog was pushing my bags. A lot of people work with deities, like, and it just feels like it's like asking them for more support, energetic power in other realms. Like there's different ways everybody works with deities, right? And I don't know, it just there's only a few deities that have really caught my eye, and I know you're not supposed to work with like 70 million at a time, but it just feels like, oh, that's cool, and then I forget about it. And with aliens, it feels like it's less about like, oh, I want to build a relationship with you. I want to I have to like start this devotional practice. With aliens for me it was more so like I'm reaching out to you and you've been there, or you're more open to working with me and I can ask you for support and you can give it. And I also really like with aliens, I've worked with them to heal. So, like they're really good at like energetically healing our bodies and upgrading it and like moving and shifting things around for us. I've even had them come through when I'm working um, on other people for like energy healing, giving them an energy healing session, and they will come through and help me to do the energy healing. So yeah, and it could just be my personal like energy and how I vibe with them, but that's kind of how it was. And honestly, the hardest part for me with working with them was like getting over the fear of like seeing them or feeling them, not knowing who I was working with, making sure it was like the right people. But that was pretty much it for me. And I will say like I haven't worked with them like on a regular basis. I kind of like work with them as I see that it's needed, but I've been feeling called more to like have like a more regular kind of like work with them. And that's also because at least one of my spirit guides is an alien. So I do work with them, I guess, more regularly anyways. Um, and so I talked about this a little bit, but like, yeah, I was introduced to them. My mentor, Ambrosia Matthews, channels a group of Arcturian aliens. And I knew about aliens because I'm into true crime. So this podcast I listened to, last podcast on the left, in their like very early episodes, they covered a lot of like alien conspiracy theories and things. So I knew about the aliens from that point of view. I've always felt like they've existed. Um, and they're more scary to me. And then when I went into the spiritual community, a lot of these conspiracy theories overlapped. A lot of people put a lot of focus on like Atlantis and Lemuria, and like the whole like star seed movement or thing. I don't know what you would call that. Um, and so I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on the theories first, just so y'all can see like where I'm coming from and what I believe in. And maybe if you had some fears or weird feelings around aliens, this can help to put things in perspective for you. Um, so there's the most common theory is like the pyramids one, right? Like the aliens built the pyramids, or there's no way humans could have done this. And like, I don't believe in that one. Like, I'm Jewish. My people were enslaved by the Egyptians and forced to build the pyramids. So I don't believe in that one, right? Like, I definitely, the way I've seen it whenever I've tapped in is that yeah, they did communicate with aliens. Ancient peoples communicated with aliens psychically or telepathically, however you want to talk about it. But how was that any different from how Moses communicated with God and came down the hill with the Ten Commandments? Or how Muhammad communicated with angels and then, came out of like his solitude with the religion of Islam? I think that it's definitely like these theories highlight like anti-Semitism and racism, saying like humans couldn't have done this without aliens. And I think that it's like, okay, well, humans couldn't have done religion without God or without angels or whatever, right? Like some people even think that angels and aliens are the same thing. So, you know, just want to put that out there, that that's kind of what I felt when I feel into that theory. And like in terms of like, the star seed and like indigo children, that kind of doesn't sit with me as well either, because of the way that it's being perpetuated in the new age spiritual community. So the parts that I don't like about it is that it's this way, like this idea of like ascension, right? Like first of all, the idea of like starseeds and indigo children, the way that they're marketed is like, you might be a special person. And it's like, so the rest of us are not important. Like we don't have cool gifts. We don't have like reasons for being here. And I think that it's just the way that it's communicated. I definitely think it could be true. But I just feel like the way that it's communicated, it's kind of like, do you want to be a part of like the secrets? Like, are you a sorority member? Like, I never liked sororities, so sorry if you've been in a sorority. I tried it. I really did. I was part of one, but I didn't like it and I left. And with that being said, it's like the whole premise is like, okay, so you're here to ascend, or you're here to like upgrade the consciousness or like vibrate higher. Like I think it's cool to like help people, to want to like help humanity to move through things, to unlock things, to open up to things. I think that part is very cool. The part that I think gets misconstrued whenever I tap into this about in the new age spiritual community specifically is like this idea of like, it's my last time on earth. Like I'm trying to ascend as quickly as possible so that I never have to come back to earth. And I think that spirituality is about community. And this idea that I'm gonna leave everyone behind and just get the fuck out as quickly as possible is very weird to me. Like it leaves so much space for like gaslighting and for like, like vibrational shaming and things like that. Like it leaves space for people to interpret it in a like, we've seen this, like people will just be racist or like oh, well, if you're poor, then like, you're just not vibrating high enough. Like, you just got to keep vibrating higher. It's like, I think there's a misconception that a lot of people miss in the community when they're trying to tap into, like, who knows if they're actually a starseed. Maybe they just want to be a starseed and that's why they're like talking like all this stuff out of their ass, and that's why they don't understand it. But like, I just feel like whenever I feel into it, like, it feels like I'm helping the collective, like I'm doing my part for me, and I'm in service to other people and I help them heal. And like, I want to cry when I say this. And like, it feels like even if I don't complete that task in this lifetime, I might come back to help again. Or I might like come back as somebody's guide or people's guides to help again. And I think that that is where the community is like, I'm not trying to quickly get out of here and leave. I'm trying to like help solve a collective issue, or help, it feels like really like free a collective of humans, right? Like, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional saying this. Like, it might be like the channeling of the aliens being here. Like, I have like full body chills right now. But it really feels like people are not, they're saying that's because that's part of my mission. That's why my soul is feeling like very emotional about this. But like, um, yeah, so I sort of mess around with that, sort of don't, when it comes to that point, because I just feel like people have misconstrued it so much about like what it means. Um, and the other part that I really like is like the fact that like the theories like many of us are like this, we have alien DNA within us. I find that very fascinating. I mean, I my inner child is obsessed with being special, right? Like when I found out I had psychic powers and I could be a witch, like I was obsessed with that. Like not feeling unimportant and being told that I was like stupid and unworthy my whole childhood, like I have this longing to be seen as special, right? So my inner child really likes this theory, but it also kind of makes sense when you look at like alien abduction theory. Like, well, I believe the people who say they've been abducted by aliens for the most part, but I feel like it's interesting that it's usually associated with like sexual probing and things like that, because I feel like when I tap into that, what they showed me is kind of like a long time ago, the way that humans work with aliens was completely different. It was more integrated, and it feels like there was integration of like genetics, and also like we don't know like where our soul was before this. What were we, a dog? Were we a bug? Were we a spirit guide? Were we an alien? Right? Like, if that's possible, and I feel like pieces of it can be transferred, but not full when we come into human mode. And so I feel like it's kind of that. Wow, this is what they're showing me right now. I have not written this down. It's like you can't contain like the higher consciousness of being an alien in a human form, so it gets like compact. They're showing me it's like compacted into little pieces in the human DNA, and which isn't what we can withstand in our human bodies. That's literally what they're showing me right now. And so I think that it's cool because it shows like we did have history and we do communicate with aliens and we do work with them. um and parts of the theory that I find are fascinating are like the different races of aliens are have been seen as like different genetic structures, right? Like their faces, their bodies, their skin color, whatever. Skin, quote unquote, right? Like, and you can see that in people who have remnants of the DNAs. Like they have certain face shapes, they have certain temperaments, they usually get along. Like it's very interesting, very fascinating, and I've seen it in real people, and it does kind of check out. So I don't want to go too far into that, but yeah, there's different alien races, and like, um, I don't, like I said, general rule, I don't really mess around with any of the ones that are anti-Semitic, like the reptilians, like ruling the government, and like I know that not all aliens are here for like want to work with us. Like it's understandable that not everything in the universe cares about humans or wants humans to succeed, because we do a lot of messy stuff to our planet. And so I've seen like different people connecting to different aliens, like There's some people that will communicate with, they call it the Galactic Federation, which is like kind of like a UN style council of aliens. And that I feel like sometimes is true and sometimes is not. I feel like sometimes these people have certain agendas and they seek out the information that they want to find. And I think it's also really hard for us to try and say, like, I as a human understand alien consciousness. I don't know. It just feels like um like with angels, like how are we fully going to understand their experience? They know more than we do, right? And they share what's necessary. Aliens are very similar. Like they see more, they know more, their emotions are different, their understanding of things is different from us, and they share with us what they can and what they think will help. But a lot of people want to communicate with them to the same way that we've talked about in some other episodes, to make things easier in their life and to not tap into their own intuition and like critically think and be empowered, and they just want aliens to like solve things for them. And so I don't think that's always the best, and sometimes that's why they get met with answers like, you're not meant to know this right now, right? um and so, knowing that aliens are my spirit team too, like that, my cosmic team, that definitely like confirms for me like that's why it's easier for me to work with them, right? So yeah, let's start getting into like my experiences with working with aliens. I talked about working with my mentor. My mentor channels these aliens, and we can like ask them questions and stuff, and that was kind of like the first time that I interacted psychically with an alien for like healing work. And I immediately felt like, oh, I could do this. Like this is something I can do on my own. I was just very scared for a long time, and so I started to call in aliens, um after thinking about it for a while, right? And not taking any action. I just called them in. So for me, I I'm not saying I'm the only one who does this, but I'm just saying like this is my experience. It's easy for me to call in other beings and to work with other types of beings. I feel like I have this understanding of how to communicate with them in the appropriate way, and I'm working on getting more comfortable with letting them like channel through me, but I can withstand and feel like their energies and communicate with them. So like the first time I did that, I asked, I think it was an Arcturian alien to come through, and it was wild. Like I felt them standing next to me. They were really tall. And for me, when I work with like higher vibrational like deities or like Sasquatch or aliens or things like that, I let them like touch my shoulder, and that's how we have like the communication line stay open. And my whole body like vibrates and like buzzes, and like sometimes when you have pressure in your ears, you hear like this weird pressure sound. I hear that the entire time, and that for me is an indication that I'm working with a higher energetic being. Like I don't have that when I tap into um people's past loved ones. And usually when I talk to people's spirit guides, they're kind of just like, I don't know, they know how to communicate with humans more deftly, so it's not like channeling their full breadth of their energy. Um, so I started to work with aliens to ask for advice, like much like you would ask a spirit guide for advice. And their mannerisms were very like matter of fact, going straight to the answers. They definitely have a lot to say. And every, I feel like race is a little bit different. Like I've worked with grays, like small grays, and um I feel like they don't really talk as much, but they move, and they can like move our energy around, and like some stuff that may be hard for us to heal, they can kind of like tap in and unblock that for us. So I've had a little bit of that. um again, big theme in this is feeling scared to fully immerse. So I'm definitely going to do this more and share more on the podcast. I feel like this is a great motivator for me to do this, and then I'll do like a follow-up episode. And if any of you have like questions or things that you want to know, and you want to submit, I can answer those next time. um you can submit questions through our Anchor link, which is like where I distribute the podcast for, and I'll put that in our like links, link in bio, and on the what is it called? Link in bio. Oh, I'll put it in our social media link in bio, and then the links in the podcast notes, like the show notes. I was like skipping ahead already. And then yeah, so I'll definitely do follow up on that. But yeah, so I've worked with them that way where it's like you lay down and you let them like tap into your energy and move around in your energy. My guides often tell me to do that too. That's how I feel like they're like part alien, is like they tell me like let us like tinker and fix and do this stuff with you, and you don't need to do all of the work, right? um so that has been really cool. And like, you know, I want to offer ways to work with people more, to like be that person who channels the aliens. So that's where the top tier in our podcast, in our Patreon coven, will come from. But I also don't want it to be like a sideshow like fancy thing. So that's why I haven't like shared too much about it. But yeah, so I've worked with the small grays on a handful of times. I worked with the Arcturians a handful of times to just seek advice when I needed it. And there, what is the other ones? Shoot, I'm linking on their name. Uh it's not the Lemurians. Maybe it is the Lemurians. I'm gonna Google this. Grace. Oh wow, this was not very helpful. Thanks, Wikipedia. Um, it's a really common one too. Now I'm getting really annoyed that I can't. What does this one say they are? Oh, okay. That didn't help either. That was like a TV show. Man, what are they called? Oh, Pleiadians. Thank you. Pleiadians are I've worked with them, and I feel like I have like my guide might be part Pleiadian. And I have like similar Pleiadian features, but their energy is, I feel like Arcturians, it's like this purple pink color, and it's like very just like matter of fact, like here's the stuff. And with the Pleiadians, it's like water, blue, calming. It's a little bit more like caring. Um, like it feels like the delivery is like softer. And I'm getting like full body chills as I say this. And I'm wearing a sweater, so I'm not cold, guys. This is like how my intuition works. It's like, yes, that's true. And so I'm like, I'm really excited to work with other, aliens and stuff, but those are the three that I know for sure I have worked with, and how they kind of like appear to me or show up. I kind of explain that they're like, I can kind of just like see them next to me, and they put their hand on my shoulder, and they just let the little, it's not full energy and like taking that on like fully channeling, because it's a lot of energy to hold. So when we get back from our break, I'm going to talk about like what they are. It'll open it up to be more like interview style. So like what they want to share with you, and like how to work with them, what you can work with them for, and things like that. Okay, so I'm back and I got like energetically ready. I'm really excited. This is like the first time I'm like doing psychic stuff live on the podcast, and I've thought about like doing that more. Um, okay, so I have like some questions that I'm going to ask, and then I'll share what answer I get from my alien guides. So I wanted to ask them, like, in terms of the energy healing, the energy work that they do, like, how do they describe that? What is that? And they're showing me like tinkering on a machine, that it's like they're just showing, well, a lot of the stuff that they do is like on my back, because it's like your heart, but like the past for you. And that's where we hold like a lot. That's why a lot of us hold like tension in our shoulders and our upper back and like muscles up there. Is like not feeling safe enough to release that stuff energetically. And they're just showing me like me trying to reach my back, and I can't reach it like with my arm. And so they're going in, and it's like a twisted like rope or knot, and they're like putting their hands over it, and it's like soothing it, and it's untangling it. Um and they're also showing me like tinkering more like on machinery, like fixing things, and that feels more of like installing new things, like upgrading things. So, and that's how different aliens do it. So they're showing me like that's like the small grays do more of like the tinkering, and like the more like calming, like unraveling of the rope. um Sorry. I'm like asking like which one this is, and I'm seeing like lilac, like more like the Pleiadian energy. It's not the Pleiadians. Maybe it's the Arcturians. They're saying a few different aliens races can do that, like Lyrians and things like that. Um, but they each kind of have their own way in how they can work to remove and help you to like heal and upgrade your energetic system. They're saying like ways that reasons why you would do this, or things that they can help you with, is like intuition, like energetic body, like removing blocks, upgrading intuition abilities to like fine tune it to be more. They're saying like the metaphor of um like a microphone from like the 50s versus like a microphone from today. It's going to pick up more sounds clearly. It's still doing the same thing, it's just noticing more of the details. It's like crisper. That's kind of what they're showing me. um the other things that they can help you, ooh, this one came through. They're saying like stuff that's very traumatic for people from like their childhood or things, they can help them to, take that. And sorry, my dog sneezed. To take that and to like, they're showing me like taking it and like cradling it and wrapping it in light, like a healing light from their hands. um because like they understand that sometimes that's too traumatic for us, and they can like kind of like remove that and heal, send like not heal it, but like it feels like a protection mechanism, like it's not going to harm us further. um the other thing that they can help us with is like in our like self-confidence and our worth and our beliefs. Wow, my dog is really sneezing a lot. Okay, hopefully she's done. um like I'm seeing like this snake of energy through like the center of my body. It's like connecting our energy body that maybe was separated, or like it wasn't flowing through us because we had blocks, or trauma that was like kind of like causing like a kink in the hose, for lack of a better term. um and yeah, like more like human blocks of like, I can't believe in myself, like I'm not worthy of this. And those ones, they're saying, at least the aliens I'm speaking to, like they're saying like not everything is fully healed. It's like the tinkering takes a long time. So it can't be like heal all my stuff overnight. Like it takes time. And you also have to give them permission to work on your body and give them like your faith to work on your body. Um they're using, I don't know if you've seen ET, but I freaking that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Um and there's a scene that I always quote. It's when like Elliot is like telling his brother like you have to trust me, but I'm going to show you, he's about to show his older brother like ET, and he's like, you have to tell me I have absolute power, and he's like, you have absolute power, and he's like making fun of him. That's what they're kind of showing me. It's like you have to like have that faith to like, because I feels like a lot of us, they're showing me like a lot of us want to do that, but if you have like this, it's like an energetic wall of like anxiety or tightness, then they don't like to touch that or go through that. Like it needs to be removed for them to go in and like work on us, on our bodies. um because like this is a kind of like true in like a lot of the spirit world, is like the permission needs to be there, right? Like if I'm a psychic reader and I'm giving somebody a reading and they don't really like believe in me, or don't, they have like their guard up energetically, they give like vague answers, they want me to like prove to them, that's usually somebody who it's harder for me to read for, because they're not trusting me to let me fully read their energy. um so like this permission needs to be given. So that's why a lot of people, they're showing me like don't really work with aliens, because there's like a lot of fear around them. There's they're saying it's like a smear campaign, about how we view aliens. And they're saying it's very few that have created that name for them. So okay. So that's kind of like what they can help with. Oh, so what they were saying was like they can help, and that takes a very long time to do all these energetic upgrades. So it's like they can help to move and shift things, but they're not fully like healing everything. So we still need to work with them and work on ourselves, right? Or whoever we work with to make an intention and effort. They're just like removing some roadblocks in a way. They can do deeper stuff, but they said like that is for another time. Okay. So how can people work with you if they've never connected with an alien before and they want to work with aliens? They're saying like do some research about aliens, um pick which type of alien you want to work with. They're saying don't really look too much at what the people draw about what they look like. um Not everybody is able to comprehend or see them. Most people feel them or see like colors or things. Sometimes they're like scary to people, so they're like prepare yourself for what it might look like. But they're saying like have somebody in mind and start to communicate with them. Don't just be like any alien anywhere, right? They're saying like if you have on your divine, on your cosmic team, like communicate with them first, that can help bridge the gap. They can be like a gateway to bring the aliens to you, to introduce you to them, to make you more comfortable with working with them. um he said don't expect to see us right in front of you. It's more like they communicate through energy more so. So they're saying like because of that, they're coming from a different like place than where we are like physically. um so making they're literally like make sure your energy is right, like come correct. Like a lot of us, we want to communicate with spirit guides, but we don't do like energy amplification, grounding, and protecting before we do so. We're just like let me check in, and then we get like weird, garbled, we don't understand what it means. Like I'm sure you've seen those bajillions of TikToks that are like, I don't know what my spirit guides are saying. And it's like if you did a practice to clear your energy, they keep using the word clear your energy before you communicate with them. So like doing like smoke clearing or whatever you do to like clear the space in your home, clear your body, of like things icky. They're showing me like icky things that weigh us down, like what is that, like human, they're saying not like human things, like they're kind of ripping on us. They're saying we don't cleanse our energy enough, like regularly. So like this gunky stuff gets, this like black like tar looking stuff gets built up around us and in our like auric field or like around in our environment. So we need to cleanse that. That makes it easier for them to like come through, and they also like don't really like sifting through that stuff. And then there's, yeah, so like having a grounding, protecting, amplification ritual that you do. And if people like want this, I have a course online that teaches people how to do this and more. um this is like basics, they're saying basics. They're just showing me like someone being like baptized in a white dress, and the term like purification. So it's like whatever purification means to you. That's kind of what they mean by the energetic cleansing. Like whatever feels like my energy is purified. Um, Not in like the religious sense, like a air purifier, like purified. um, so they're saying like practicing doing that a few times before you even ask them, making sure that like that what that feels like, because they're saying like their energies are very subtle yet strong, and so many of us can miss those things and not be aware of how our energy is like building up around them. Like how I was saying, like that fear, the wall block of fear, that deters people from deters them from like having the permission. So like getting comfortable with what your energy feels like and working with it. Like if you feel that guard start to come up, like they're saying like if you need to do something to be more comfortable, like be in a bath to relax, be in your bed, that is totally fine. They're saying if you just want to communicate with them a few times before you actually ask for like that healing, that's totally fine. They're kind of like used to people like being weirded out by them. um in terms of like, working with them for like advice and stuff, they're saying that's a lot easier. um what are they saying? They're saying making sure you're asking and working with them for the right reasons. Like if you just are looking for advice, like how you would ask like your guides or tarot cards. um Still need to do the grounding and protection and amplification, because it's going to be harder to hear them if you don't. They're saying they're gonna like, for the love of God, like please don't like ask us like how the world is gonna end or like shit like that. Like they would love to, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of aliens would love to help us and work with us, but know that they're only allowed to share certain things up to a certain point with you. um there needs to be like a specific, they're showing, it's hard to describe, it's like a respect, I guess, of like what I'm here to work with you for. And it's not just for fun, it's not just to prove that you can do it. um it's not to like solve, like they're bringing up, this is a really common one right now, like the like world matters, like with Ukraine and things. Like a lot of people come to them for like answers and solace, and they will answer some of those because they kind of like pity us because of how much fear we're going through. um but they would much rather like help us with things that can impact our race in a larger way. um that means like healing yourself, helping heal others, gaining like perspective on issues that feel limiting or overwhelming. They showed me we have much knowledge, and that's also a movie reference. Or maybe it's a TV show reference. I think it's Gilmore Girls is where I've heard it, but it's from a movie, I think. And then they're showing like their hands opening in front of them, and like flower garden was coming through. Like they have a lot of different ways and things. It just doesn't feel like they're like, oh, I'm so ready to give it to you. It's like there needs to be this mutuality of like you come and you ask and then we'll give it to you. Which is very common for a lot of the spirit world, right? Like a lot of people miss this step of like, I don't know, how do I know if I'm ready? You just ask. You just ask. There's very different etiquette, and permissions are very like strict. It feels strict to us, but for other beings, it's kind of known that it's like if you ask, then you receive, right? Like a lot of people like talk about that in manifestation because it's like learning the ways that the energy in the universe works, and for spirit and for beings and stuff, they know that that is second nature to them. Ask and receive, ask and receive. And for us, we have to wrap our head around that because so many of us don't do things without asking. We take and receive. They're showing me. And so many of us give and don't receive. So ask and receive, ask and receive. They just keep like repeating that over and over. And they're showing it to me in like this plant, like a flower, like, you know, like leaves will like stem from the left and the right. They're like in a V shape going down to the stem. And it's like the left is ask and the right is receive. So it's like kind of like an arrow shape. Okay. And then is there anything else that you want to share with the witchy and weird community that you think would be helpful for them to like, oh, okay, yeah, how can they remove fear around you, around working with you? They're just repeating believe, 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 and they're showing me that scene in Peter Pan when like you don't believe in the fairies and then they die. So we have to just believe in them. And it feels very much so connected to that inner child, like the childlike energy. I just believe in it because I want to, and I want it to be real so bad that I believe in it. Instead of I'm skeptical because I haven't seen it, and I'll believe it when I see it. They're like, believe it because you want it to be real. Like bring it into this realm, into this reality because you want it to be real. And that's what matters. Not that it's proved to you to be real. I really like that. That's a good piece of advice for like life in general. What else? What else? I don't know. They're showing me like watching things about aliens, listening to things about aliens, and letting your intuition answer. So, like, if you watch like an old movie with like alien, like Mars Attacks or something, and you're like, oh my God. And then like ask your intuition, like, would this actually happen? Is this how aliens actually are? And then you'll hear like answers, and then it'll help you to be um, like, no, it's actually not like that, you know, like I'm like how I was breaking down like the conspiracy theories. They're saying like doing similar stuff for yourself around the fears of like letting your intuition answer instead of your fear answer so that you can get clearer responses around what they're actually like. um and they're also reiterating the spiritual boundaries, knowing that they're not actually going to be physically there, you know, like touching you. So like if you feel unsafe, you can just tell them no to leave and they honor that, right? um so like boundaries, setting boundaries about who you want to work with and for what and why, and know that that's going to be respected, you know, asking for protection so you feel safe enough. Okay. Trying to think of any other questions. They're just kind of like, that's enough. Thank you. Thank you for this. And I'm like, thank you for this. Okay, so I'm gonna have them leave. Oh, okay. Not leave. Just we're not directly asking questions to them anymore. Okay, so hopefully I wasn't talking too quietly. My voice is different when I'm psychically communicating. This was really exciting. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I felt kind of scared, like, oh, what do I know? Blah, blah, blah. So if you're interested, like, please, please, please share. If you want more of this, like, DM me, go on our social media, comment, like, you can comment on Anchor. You're allowed to leave comments and things. If you're in the patron coven portal, you can ask. If you're in the second and third tier, you can ask a follow-up question for every single episode and I will respond to you. You can do that as well, but I think this is something that I want to do more, is maybe like a series where we bring on different beings and connect with them. So definitely going to get working on making that submission form for you all. But yeah, like, and even in the submission form, like if you have like a request, I guess that would be the best way. Okay. You know what? Scratch the other things I just said like 30 seconds ago. I'm going to make the submission form. And like I said earlier in the episode, the link will be in the show notes or in our link in bio, anywhere you find our links. I don't have it made correctly, like directly right now. So I can't tell you what the URL would be. So just look out for that. In the show notes, it's like if you click on the description, wherever you're watching that or listening to the episode, you'll see it there. And then the link in bio, there'll be a specific link. And you can submit questions for aliens specifically, or if you want me to continue to do episodes like this, submit like who else you would want me to bring on the podcast energetically, psychically, and speak to, right? Like, and then if enough people are like, oh, I want to talk to Sasquatch, like, then we can do that. So yes. I think that's all I have to say about that. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for supporting and sharing. I've had like a bunch of people who are like, oh, my friend told me about this episode. Like, that is the best way, like word of mouth, sharing on your social medias when we post reels and things, sharing like a video of you or tagging us, how you listen to the episode. I love seeing those, like what you're doing when you're listening, how you're finding it, tell everybody about it. And yeah, so I'm just really excited. I want it to get big enough to where we can do like shows where I go somewhere, travel somewhere, and we do a show, maybe a retreat and things like that. And I'm just really excited for all the possibilities and really grateful for all of you for being here on this journey so far with me. So until next time, bye. If you love Witchy and Weird podcasts, support us by donating monthly for as little as 99 cents at anchor.fm/witchyandweird/support. You can cancel at any time and 100% of the proceeds go directly to the pod. Or, if you don't want to commit to a monthly donation, buy Amanda a coffee at ko-fi.com/wishyandweird to help fuel them while they record, edit, create, and upload content for the podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and tell your witchy and weird friends about us too. Bye!